welcome to this week's edition of Blue Soak. Again, John Dave and myself are going to look back over Leinster's victory against Edinburgh, Ireland's victory against Samoa, look forward to the quarter-final of the World Cup against New Zealand and all the other rugby action. So lads, we'd start off with our Pro 14 game against Edinburgh last Friday evening. We put Edinburgh to the sword, 40 points to 14. Not a bad performance.
Yeah, it was a game that was, well, with the exception of one try, it was high on effort, low enough on quality. Not through lack of effort, as I say. Obviously, that one try, Ron Osborne's try, was exceptional. But we just kind of just built it up, and basically they fell away. I mean, they were thereabouts for the first...
Well, it was 7-5.
39 minutes.
7-5 to them.
Yeah.
Coming up to half time. We 2 men in the bin.
Going down to 13 men rescued the game for us because we weren't taking that much interest up until then. They poked the bear, as somebody, the phrase somebody used. It wasn't what they expected, I'm sure, being down to 13 men. But things started to go for you. You know, the referees don't like giving too much against you when you've only 13 men and get a bit of leeway. And of course, the lads came back like.
But you saw when we got the opportunity. Anger. You know, it was well into the red of the 40 minutes, and they were relentless. Like they just went for that. Like the championship minutes, they scored a try 4 minutes into injury time, and 5 or 6 minutes into the second half. You know, that changed the absolute complexion of the game.
I'm sure how many times we've said that about Leinster.
Yeah,
you know that they, when the clock goes into the red, it's when they're at their most dangerous.
Do you remember a couple of seasons ago? And that run up to sort of post Christmas run towards when they got, obviously they won the final and they did both finals, like that they were just pulling away from teams for these. They just put the foot on the gas for 15 minutes and then just open up a gap.
Yeah. And
almost then just glide in for the last 20 minutes.
I believe it was my boiling lobsters analogy.
Score a few show tries at the end.
That's right.
But that's what they did. I mean, obviously, they were Leinster were down to 13 men. You know, an unpopular one was the Tamani yellow card, but I thought it was a yellow card.
If that was Liam Williams, every Leinster fan in the world would be going, shoot him,
or Chris
shoot
Ashton,
him now, or Chris Ashton, or any of them.
I remember.
It's something that you see more and more of, don't you? You know, fellas sliding. Like, the guy scored a try, and it was, you could probably count 1 second, 2 seconds before Tamani came into hit him. You know, he well grounded the ball. Yeah. He wasn't going to dislodge it. Like, it's just dangerous. Your man had to get treatment afterwards.
Once you're off your feet like that, once you're sliding, I mean, you have no control over your destination. Now, I don't think it was particularly malicious, and I don't think there was malicious intent, but it was careless, and it was reckless, and that's what the referee's on. I mean, we saw Ben Cohen do it on Gervin Dempsey, if you remember.
Long time ago, yeah.
2004, wasn't it? Obviously, there's a famous one with David Bory on Gordon Darcy. And obviously, we've seen Liam Williams do it, we've seen Simon Zebo do it, and we don't like when...
There's quite a few players
we don't like it when it's done to us, so... I'm sure Joe regrets it, and he's learned his lesson. But the bent one was a bit, you know, it's...
I just think you need someone just committed... Or sorry, he was just the first one that the referee saw.
And in fairness, Skillman's a very, very good prop.
Yes.
But, very, very good.
But I thought that Whitehouse seemed to want to just have a scrum fest. Like, there must have been like a couple of seasons ago.
Saying like it's a bad thing.
No, a couple of seasons ago, BBC were putting clocks on for matches for Six Nations of time that's elapsed during scrums, and I'd say there must have been between 10 and 15 minutes of scrum time.
Yeah,
and you know, like, okay, we all like our scrum, but there comes a point where let's move on.
Somewhat ironically, it worked out in our favour, because with all that time been lost, but because there were scrums, the clock wasn't stopping. It ate up a lot of the bench time, with the result that Bent was able to come on and say and score his try before half time. And
we started horsing them out with 7 men all of a sudden. Whatever Weetabix was had, was kicked in.
So, sometimes just a change in the prop because they scrummage differently can make a big difference. I mean, Abdelaziz has been progressing over the years and is, you know, getting better and better and better. So you've got a different kind of prop, different style of prop to bend to come on and make a bit of a difference.
A lot younger and less experienced But that's
Yeah.
not always a bad thing. And
No.
like you say, a change of props. Maybe the Schumann had worked out Bent, and
And
it
it-
took a few minutes to
and it-
work
Played
out.
against them.
And
then,
it presents a different picture to the referee as well.
Yeah.
So if the prop has changed and things are still going wrong, well, maybe it wasn't actually the prop, or that talk goes through his head,
Yeah.
and it can make a difference.
Do you have the tries, Dave?
I do
We
indeed.
rattle through them.
We shall indeed.
Throw the tries up there, Dave.
Lovely little header here from James. But watch how he tracks the move completely from one side of the pitch to the other. So he's in the right position at the key time.
And just managed to get a hand on it.
Keenan has been very impressive at fullback.
Lovely
Yes.
break.
Yeah.
Great
Yeah.
outside and in, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
And fast.
Yeah.
Very fast. Yeah, more of him, please.
And I thought I was very impressed with him the previous week
Yeah.
against
No,
Ospreys
he
as
has
well.
been excellent. So he has.
Well, when you consider our two candidates, or probably our two top 15s, are both at the World Cup in
Yeah.
Larmer and Rob Kearney, so there's a bit of a scrummage for
yeah, there is
positions behind them,
I mean, you've got guys like Jimmy O'Brien and Keane Kelleher
Yeah,
who can play in that position as well. I mean,
Exactly.
we saw what Jimmy O'Brien could do a bit later on, or we see it in this.
yeah,
But good opportunism from Gibson Park, it has to be said.
indeed.
That's
You've
literally
got to be
like
alive to it. That was a lovely little
it was. But he's playing to the whistle,
round the corner, which you always have to do.
which you always have to do. Big man nods it down for the little man.
Would
It's
you
like Niall Quinn and Kevin. And Kevin, what's his name all
Sheedy.
over again?
Would
No,
you-
the guy who used to play for Sunderland, Quinny.
Kilban.
No, Kevin.
I don't know anything about
Phillips.
soccer.
Phillips, that's it, well done. Whereas this was a bit more, this was like you're saying, like it's 43 minutes on that clock there.
Yeah,
You know, just pounding away at the line.
they weren't going home without their try.
No.
In fairness, in the build-up, everybody was saying that Edinburgh wouldn't have the pack to compete with us.
Oh, I never thought that was the case.
However, they seem to find good old Richard Cockrell always has a
Yeah.
always has a tough pack, no matter who's in there. He must put the fear of God in them or something.
Well, he knows a bit about forward play.
That's true. And they finally get
44 minutes.
always good to see. Just before HT.
It puts a totally different perspective on going in for that team talk.
Yeah, you're going in, you're
I'd
running
say-
in on top of the grass rather than trudging.
But even Lancaster and Leo's notes probably
Yeah.
ripped up a little bit,
Yeah,
you know?
possibly.
And Benty back on to play his part. In fact, the half went on so long that Joe Tamani got back on and all, didn't he?
That's right, he did, yeah. Yeah. I think he got on just before the line out that led to this.
You actually
Yeah.
see him in the
Oh, yeah.
build up to it.
Yeah.
I could see him standing on the side of the thing in the build-up, and I was going, I didn't think he'd be until the second half.
Sure, do you remember, was it Wales against England a couple of years ago? No,
France,
France.
Yeah.
That a
The
prop
night-
got sent
100
off
minutes,
with the clock in the red
and he came
and
back
still
on.
came back on from his...
That match went on like for 104 minutes.
Yeah,
Something
yeah.
ridiculous, isn't it?
That was great.
West didn't think it was great.
No. They really, I was looking at this and like you look at the backfield, there's an awful lot of moving parts before the ball comes to Doris.
Mm-hmm.
You did very well there.
Yeah. That was, to carry on an analogy from last week, that was the He's the Best try.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a new book out at the moment.
Apparently so, yeah. I'm sure I'll get it for Christmas.
Ghost written by Matt Cooper,
Yeah.
apparently.
Heard a bit on the last word tonight driving home. They kind of had
I heard about
Snippet.
it, all right.
And another good piece of quick thinking from Gibson Park to take the
Yeah.
quick line out before they got set.
I have a lot of time for him. He has a lot of that Kiwi nous.
Yeah.
a Irish now.
Yeah,
Irish
nous.
nous. Did I send you the thing today which said Richie McCaw was
Oh,
offside
yeah.
so often that he qualified for all the countries he played against because he spent so long offside while playing them.
This was the the contractually obliged Scott Penny try.
Uh-huh. There's another man that's really has a claim to stake while others are away.
Well, he has the opportunity because of injury and
World Cupness.
World Cupness and guys moving on.
We spoke about that last week,
Yeah.
and he's grabbing an opportunity. And in fact, you have to say a lot of them are putting their hands up,
Yeah.
which is what you want, because there's going to be 14 lads coming back. Like, you know, right after the World Cup, not saying we're going to get to the final, but I think it's 2 weeks after the final, the European Cup kicks in.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's going to be a lot of fatigue bods coming home
Yeah.
from the World Cup.
Well, it depends on if they're coming home next
No, but-
weekend or
okay, but
No.
even still,
2 weeks later.
The
Even
best,
still.
best/worst case scenario if they're in the final.
yeah.
Oh, look, they've scored a try while we were rabbiting on. And for those of you listening in black and white,
And the now also becoming contractually obligatory Michael Milne try.
Yes. He's kind of come from nowhere, has he?
No, he was always a guy that was highly regarded, but between injuries and stuff, he kept.
well, when you
he never
say
really-
always, he's not that old.
No, but yeah, I'm talking about coming up through the age grade system.
Hmm.
He was, but because he never really got a good run in any of the age grade teams, because he was always getting injured.
But he's now equalled my career try total.
He's also equalled.
He's not far behind Michael
Bent's
Bent.
career try total.
A slightly higher level than I played.
Yeah, slightly.
Yeah, so.
Well, this would be the equivalent level to what you played at. That was the highest level you could play at, and now that that was before the provincial thing, Jay. But keep telling yourself that.
No. I'm not delusional.
There's nothing wrong with a little bit of a delusion if it keeps you warm at night. You're looking at Munster supporters.
We'll get on to them. Yeah, I just want you to get to the last try of the evening.
Yeah.
No, I think we'll have a little chat first.
Well, nice one, Michael Mill. We are getting about 17 views on that.
Yeah,
But it's no less.
it's a
It's
great
always
try.
glorious when
Yeah.
the prop gets a
You
try.
can see that Dave used to be a former prop. And he must wallow in the glory of any prop. Front
This
row
is
union.
magnificent.
This is just one of the best tries you'll see.
Mm-hmm.
The dummy there, your man just stops dead.
Bit of gliding there.
Oh.
That was pure dirt.
Was.
Filth.
This is not safe for work.
I was right in front of our
For those of you listening in black and white, we were talking about James Lowe's offload for the last try.
Like,
Audio description services provided by John Granger.
It was a thing
But
of
last
beauty.
year we spoke about him and his box office. He puts bums on seats.
Yeah.
That's what you want to see players doing, you know.
But even that was lovely. But even I mean, he's been quiet in the first couple of game or two. But he still does something that affects the game.
Yeah.
He always affects the game, and if he's not doing, I mean, he did this, which is obviously a brilliant marquee moment.
Pure box office.
But his hard work throughout the game, his hitting rucks, his work, like just tracking on the first try, it's just work, and then you get the opportunity because of your hard work to do stuff like that.
Also, you've got a bunch of kids who are all trying to make a name for themselves, so they all want to put a ball under their arm and pin their ears back and go for it. You know?
Yeah.
So it's hard for him to shine. Like he's
Yeah.
Even
already
props
made
want
his
to do
name.
that.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, maybe he's shown them that you can shine by not doing that. If you know what I mean.
that's true.
By being
too,
the team guy.
Exactly. So some of the other, I just looking at some of the. So we're now unbeaten with the Cheetahs. We've both got 3 games. The only thing about the Cheetahs, of course, is that they
Played them all at home.
played it all at home. Yeah.
Yeah, but we played one away game in Italy, fair enough.
Yeah.
But we scored a shed load of tries in each of our games, and we've got 3 bonus point victories, and we're still not top of the bloody conference. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
That's completely insane. Shows you what the Cheetahs are doing.
'Cause it's not like,
Admittedly,
it's
on
not
the
like
high
they've been
felt.
playing muck.
No, they played
They haven't
Munster,
been playing-
Ulster, and Glasgow. Like,
In
hello,
fact, we'd probably say they're harder matches than ours.
definitely.
Yeah.
You know,
Definitely.
like we played 2 home games. Our away game was Treviso.
Mm-hmm.
Which were good last season.
Treviso are a great team, but
they
they're
haven't
depleted.
been like
Absolutely
they've
walloped.
lost all 3 games now this season.
They're
Yeah, but
massive-
they're walloped
massively
by World Cup call-ups.
depleted.
yeah, true.
To a greater extent even than
Yeah.
ourselves or the
Like
Scots.
in my notes, I said, after the first 3 rounds, you can start to see kind of the haves and have-nots splitting in the table. But I think it's a bit unfair. We've only played 3 games, and also obviously the World Cup is there. But there are kind of the same old teams are kind of starting to
Oh, yeah,
rise.
Dragons Kings are still dreadful.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Dragons won an away game. What do you mean?
Still dreadful.
Well, we'll go through some of the other results. Cheetahs.
It's the first away win in 4 years, by the way.
Was
Last week. Yeah.
Right. Wow. That
It's
must
pretty
be-
That's
amazing.
dreadful.
That must be hard supporting them, mustn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
well, I've often said that. I mean, it's easy for us to go and support Leinster and be brilliant fans and all that because you're watching a team that wins 80% of its games.
Yeah.
If
And
you're a
look,
Dragons-
and looks pretty doing it. Like,
Yeah, and look, if you're a Dragons fan,
yeah.
they're the real thing. Like,
Yeah.
They're the real fans.
And like those lads standing on the in Rodney Parade,
Yeah.
you just kind of go, fair play to you,
on that terrace, what do they call it? The
Hazel.
Hazel Terrace, like.
That's right. So the Chiefs that we spoke about them, they beat Munster 40 points to 16. I watched a little bit of that match before heading off to our game
Yeah,
on Saturday.
yeah. I just saw the Oxinche try. That's all I saw. Like yourself before heading off to
Yeah.
the game.
So I can't really comment on it, but like I suppose you just have to say you can commend the Cheetahs because they're kind of doing now in the league what we kind of hoped the South African teams would do, that they would bring something positive
Yeah.
to it and not be like another couple of Italian teams coming into it.
Well, they've played 3 hard games, as we've just said, but they also have now zero people at the World Cup.
Yeah, yeah.
So they're as strong as they're getting. Plus, they had a great pre-season in winning the Curry Cup.
Yeah, and they've got to
That's-
hit the ground running as
That's,
well.
that's a pretty hit the ground running thing to do.
Yeah.
So when they're away from the high felt, they've got their hard away games rather than their hard home games. We'll see how they get on. But it looks like they could be well looking for a playoff again, like they did in their first season.
Mhm.
They're in the harder conference now, you would have to say. The teams that swapped over, I think, the Scarlets are probably the biggest quality that left our conference, but
So in that conference,
the ones that have come in are fairly...
in the conference, it's Cheetahs, Leinster, Ulster Dragons, Glasgow, Ospreys, and Zebre.
Amazing, isn't it? The Dragons are ahead of Glasgow.
Yeah.
Could have got wonder what odds you could have got on that 3 weeks ago.
Well, no, they've only played 3 games and they've only won 1
Even
game.
so,
They were
And,
beaten by,
and Glasgow are down 15 players.
and
even so,
Dragons were beaten by Connacht at the weekend at home.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, they're only missing one player, is it?
Moriarty and Hallam Amos.
Oh,
Oh no, he's moved, has he?
Yeah, I thought he moved. Yeah.
He might have moved to Cardiff actually, but I think they're missing 2. Can't think of who the other one is. Moriarty anyway. He's a big loss.
Is it one of the second rows?
Is Corey Hill still a Dragon?
I thought he was.
Yeah, there you go. He's the guy who, I know it was Beard that had his appendix.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an Osprey. No, I think Corey Hill is a Dragon still.
other results: Scarlets 54, Zebre 10. I mean, no
great
surprise,
shock.
Yeah. Kings were beaten by Ulster up or down in Port Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Another
great shock there either.
Well, I
Another
suppose
great
Ulster
shock.
getting their show back on the road after their drubbing.
pumping
Yeah.
Cheetahs.
Against their love hate team.
Your former favourite second team against your current favourite second team. Glasgow beat Cardiff.
I'm confused now,
So am I,
Ted.
so am I. I'm not sure who you're going to pick this season. I just made that one up actually. And the other result was Ospreys beat Treviso. I have a soft spot for Treviso. I always,
Yeah,
and if they're not playing us, I always kind of hope they'll
Yeah.
win their
Yeah.
games.
I have a bit of a soft spot for the Ospreys because they used to be, they're a once great team that's now
Fallen.
sadly fallen.
A once not quite great team.
Well, a once great in
Great-
outside of Europe
The
team.
great Pro 12 team.
Yeah. Well, they duffed us up a few times, as famously. But I'm still hearing whispers that they're not gonna. Remember, they were supposed to be merging with the Scarlets, and then they were
Yeah.
supposed to be various things. They don't reckon the Ospreys are gonna make it in the long term.
Really?
So
But you would have to wonder how, like, they play in that stadium in Swansea, and like even when they play Leicester Tigers.
Or
There's
Saracens.
still, or Saracens, just still 15,000, like just still more empty seats than occupied seats in the stadium. Regardless of whether they're playing Leinster or Munster in a Pro 14 game, the only time they seem to fill it is when they play against Scarlets, or come close to filling it. I don't think they do fill it.
Yeah, it's there's not much we can really add to that. That's true. That's just the way it is. I mean, and it's a pity really, because I think it was something that was going along really, really well as in terms of it was the success story of regional rugby.
The one true region.
They'd created an actual identity, and as you say, it was an actual region. It's hard to know what's going to do, but I mean, the whispers that come out of West Rugby, there's more whispers coming out of West Rugby
true.
than there is out of Cadbury factory. Like,
That's true. That's true. Very good, Dave. I like that one. Borrow that.
Well, next week's free week in the Pro 14, so there's no more games. So I suppose we turn our attention to the
Some other games that might
some
be
other
going
games
on.
that might be going on. Well, we had our victory against Samoa.
yeah,
We scored 7 tries in the process.
And look good doing it.
We did. We kind of got our mojo back a little bit, except Bundiaki's red card. What's your views on it, lads?
It was a fair enough call for a red card. I feel that he's a little bit hard done by that he's got a 3-week ban, but you know you can't really argue. At the same time, they were basing their defense around the fact that he had 0.02 of a second.
0.2 of a second.
0.2 of a
something
second,
to make
to
a
react,
reaction.
which like it's it's fair enough. It's harsh on the guy, but it's definitely by the laws of the game.
The laws need to be changed.
Do you think so?
100%.
Game's gone soft.
It's not that the game's gone soft. It's just, as you said, or the IRFU's defence, he had a minuscule of a second to make that decision. He's a big man, and
He
trying
is.
to get his body down low, not to make contact with the guy's chin. Like,
The guy didn't duck though as well, so he
the
wasn't
guy
that
did,
low
he
to
stooped.
begin.
He stooped
Yeah, he
coming
stooped
in.
him. Yeah, he led with his head.
The idea is, and it's going to be carnage, and it's going to be. They're not going to change the laws of the game. If anything, they're going to make them stricter. And it's going to be like this for the next 18 months until you get a situation where a player like Bundiaki, when he goes into that, and unless he's 100% sure he's going to tackle clean, he's not going to make the tackle. And that's the behaviour
That's what
they
they're
want.
aiming at, yeah.
That's the behaviour they want. They're determined. They're not trying to change the laws or enhance the laws or anything. They're trying to change behaviour.
Behaviour,
And the only way to do that is to, I mean, you see it in civil society and laws off the pitch. I mean, the only way to stop people drink driving is to make it so the punishment so harsh, and that's the same thing that's happening in rugby as regards this thing. It is very harsh. I mean, you look at it and you take. I hate using the phrase because it's generally it's generally something that you hear from idiots, but you take a common sense approach. There was no intent to injure or
Absolutely
harm
not.
or anything like that, and that's fair
Absolutely
enough. But the question rugby has come to, the point where rugby has come to when it dealing with these things is, so what?
Yeah, well, that's it. It's nothing to do. Intent. People are always going on about intent in these situations. Intent has absolutely nothing to do with it.
As far as rugby is concerned, intent is somewhere you go when you're camping.
Indeed. That's not such a good one. I'm
No,
not going to
that
borrow
was a
that.
bit struggling. That was a bit struggling for that one.
What I will say though is,
what it's going to do. It's going to turn. It's going to make the traditional rugby supporter, or the person my age or our age, turn away from it a little bit, thinking
maybe.
and maybe that's not their market. I mean, we're going to be a dying breed soon enough, and it's the
Quite literally.
it's the 7-year-olds coming through, and maybe that's where they're.
Who knows?
Well,
Well,
I
they'd
think to
like-
a certain extent they are start targeting because they're looking at say behavioural patterns in the United States of America where parents
Exactly.
are not letting their kids play football.
Yeah.
And they're thinking if that's and because of a similar pathway that
absolutely.
and they're thinking, well, if that happens to us, we're screwed because we're already a minority sport. So there's that element too, and then of course there's the as we say as we've been talking about, there's the lawsuit time bomb that could be ticking down
Absolutely.
the road, and they want to be proactive.
Yeah.
You want to see your
But
current.
My issue with it is that he didn't come in swinging an arm. He didn't clock him with his forearm.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
No,
It's like
absolutely, yeah.
he hit him with the corner
The
of
shoulder,
his
yeah.
shoulder, and I just think that's
That's the laws. Shoulder to the head.
look at I know, but I just think that there needs to be some sort of leniency in there.
No, I absolutely disagree.
I think it'll go the other way,
I
like
think
Dave
it has
says.
to. I think it has to be binary
Why though?
because we want to change his behaviour
Why?
because we don't want him or somebody else to end up a vegetable by the time they're 60.
Don't play rugby then.
We don't want them to
You
commit.
just
We
want
will.
everyone to go around and play in soft.
Well, what I don't
soft
want, what I
play
don't want,
zones,
what I don't
Dave.
want is I don't want
That's not
rugby
it.
players to commit suicide by shooting themselves through the heart,
Oh.
so that their brains can be used for medical science, like it's
Okay.
happening in the NFL.
Right.
You know,
It's
that's
people running into each other with helmets,
Yeah.
using their head as a tackle weapon, using you as a defender tackling with your head. That's what was happening in American football.
Absolutely.
yeah.
It's not the same.
But
as
you've got
what-
guys shoulder
It's
hitting
not-
the guy's head.
it's
It's
not
not the
the-
same.
not the
It's
same
not
at
the
all.
same. It's absolutely
But
not the same.
the end result is the same.
It's not because it happens in a game once in a match situation, not if in
every tackle.
in every single
No,
tackle.
I agree.
I
But
agree
you,
with
you
you.
have to minimise it to make sure
Yeah.
that behaviour changes. Because next time Bundyaki is in a similar situation, he's not going to make that
Sorry,
tackle.
he will because it's an instantaneous reaction. What he did, it is reflex. What he did, nothing else. Because otherwise, there's a guy. And you know last week you said, oh, these guys are 20 stone and they're able to sprint in 100 meters in
11
whatever
seconds.
11 seconds. Your man's running at Bundyaki, so either he gets out of the way and gets dropped and loses his position in the Irish team, or he tries to react and make a tackle. And that's what he did. He got his timing wrong because he had such a little time to react to it. That's it. He didn't go in trying to knock your man's block off with a swinging arm.
We're all agreeing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
We're
you
go-
need
we're
to
going
be-
down a cul-de-sac
You
now.
need to be lenient then, and you need to make sure that the player has an equal chance of making the tackle rather than just weighting
He
everything in his
does.
favour.
Go lower.
How could he go low? He had 0.2 of a
Then don't
second
make
to
the
react.
tackles.
So then get out of the
That's-
way and
so-
get dropped. Is that what you're saying?
Well, he's not going to be playing in the next match, is he?
Wow.
Exactly. He got dropped
He got
either
dropped.
way.
He's dropped.
Well, he's banned
And-
by
and-
World Rugby. He's
What-
not
I know.
dropped.
What
Yeah.
I was
There's a
going to
big
say
difference, Dave. He's not
Well, yeah,
dropped.
to move
He's
this
banned
along,
by World Rugby.
And he's not going to play in the next match either, or the next
to
match.
move this along a little bit, what I was going to say is that isn't it great to arrive at the quarterfinal of a World Cup with one guy who's missing due to suspension, no other injuries, no other issues like we had last time. We had a guy with suspension last time. We also had 4 or 5 injuries, and this guy Bundyaki is going to be in a position where he's going to be able to be the rep on the team. You know, he's still able to stay
Spar
there.
with them.
He's going to be able to prepare that team, and
Yeah, I was surprised actually that they don't.
thought-
He doesn't have to go home or anything.
yeah.
They can
no,
stay
no,
with the team.
he
Yeah,
just can't
yeah,
play.
Yeah.
Presumably they can't get.
Nobody can
An
replace
extra
him.
man.
No, they can't. No, they can't.
No.
Only through injury, which is actually because we're playing the All Blacks, and he knows who knows the All Blacks better than Bundyaki. Like,
And who can pretend to be an All Black better than Bundyaki? So, I think it's awful for Bundyaki personally,
Yeah.
and it's probably a down,
And see, it's Johnny
But going
Sa-
into the tournament, how many people were saying that Gary Ringrose and Robbie Henshaw were the preferred pairing?
I would have.
There
I
you go.
wasn't. I knew.
A lot of us were.
I was on the Aki Hen, not because I personally would prefer Henshaw and Ringrose for a variety of reasons. But
Well,
I
now
thought
we've
that-
got
I think you need to have some sort of contrast.
Yeah,
Put
so
the
do
two
I, yeah.
Similar type.
I think
The
Schmidt was on
rapier
the
and the-
Aki Henshaw.
the rapier and the bludgeon.
Yeah. But
Sorry.
for all we know, he could pick Farrell and Henshaw next
He
week.
Who
could,
knows?
yeah, he
Who
could.
knows?
I see Sexton is like you were mentioning about the going into the game with fresh bodies
Mm-hmm.
or relatively fresh bodies.
Not as fresh as the Kiwis though, with their 2
Or
weeks
maybe
off.
they're rusty though.
Who knows?
Anyway,
Yes, doubt
I'll
it.
come to that in a minute.
Well,
But
there has been a lot of rain.
I was going to say the thing about Sexton, it's his first start in a quarter final. He was famously dropped for the the match
That's right.
down in Australia
Mhm.
many years ago,
Against
8 years
Wales.
ago, and got injured then against
France.
France, yeah.
against France. Sorry for the Argentina game.
Yeah. So, yeah, first start for a quarter final for Sexton. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's the key.
People are very pessimistic about our chances in this match.
I know I am.
Look, we haven't been playing well at all. And New Zealand are New Zealand. But at the same time, what has gone before is irrelevant for Ireland because the whole thing since December 2018 has been about this game.
Mm-hmm.
So Six Nations didn't matter. The warm-ups didn't matter. Even to a certain extent, the pool stages, as long as we got out of them, didn't matter. It was all about the quarter final. So we got to the quarter final.
This is where the real rugby.
The wrong one, unfortunately.
This is
Well,
where
it's not
the-
the wrong one. No,
This is where the Rugby World Cup
we've got to a
starts.
quarter final against a team we've beaten 2 out of the last 3 times we played them.
That's what everybody seems to trot out anytime I say anything pessimistic. But
Well, but it is a statement, and I mean, people can make excuses. That, oh, that wasn't in the World Cup, but it wasn't in the World Cup for us either. You know, so all these kind of things.
no, but we had the motivation of, in the first one, we had the motivation of being the first team to beat the All Blacks. That's some motivation. And, in the second one, it was our unbeaten year. We'd won a Grand Slam.
I think the
you know,
motivation of being the first Irish team to ever win a knockout match of the World Cup might be
Yeah.
I think it's most important that
Absolutely.
that the players come in knowing that they can beat the All Blacks.
Yeah,
Like
which they
every
do.
other generation of players, no matter, like even I can remember in '95, we put it up. Gary Halpin scored a try in the opening few minutes, and we thought, well, we have a chance here, and really we didn't. A few years
It was
later,
just delaying the
it
inevitable.
was, and then I remember in '97, again we were kind of in with the heel of the hunt. Then Christian
That's
Cullen
right.
took over. Then there was, I don't know, maybe 01, I think. We're actually
right.
leading 01. We were leading with.
sorry, I know what you mean, yeah,
In 2001, we were leading with 15 minutes to go.
Yeah,
I think John Hayes went off and someone else, Shane Horgan, I think, went off, and
God.
floodgates opened again and beaten by 20, 30 points. And as you say, but you think Schmidt has been in charge of Ireland 4 times against the All Blacks. We've actually conceded. I just had a look at it there. Where is it? Yeah, sorry. We have. Where is it? Sorry. Yeah, sorry. In the 4 games, we've actually outscored them. We've outscored them 87-83 in the 4 matches that.
It just shows how tight those 4 games have been.
And as we said, it never was done. Like that match in Chicago, I know they had some injuries, but I'm sure we had a couple of injuries as well. Then of course, it was that famous match in 2013, Joe Schmidt's second or third match in charge, where there was that last minute play. And they won fair play. Like that's what the All Blacks do, and that's what we've just come to expect happens to Irish teams against the All Blacks, the plucky underdogs putting it up.
But not anymore.
Our period of time that we are competitive against them was getting longer, and we managed to stay competitive for 79 minutes rather than 60 minutes 10 years before. But now we beat them in Chicago. They kind of beat us up a week later in Dublin.
Well, that was the game when I was convinced that New Zealand, if not fear, certainly are worried about Ireland, because to win that match they had to resort to thuggery and blackguardry.
They did.
And they don't do that. They don't do that unless they absolutely have to. For all we like to talk about, that's not part of their game. Their game is a clean, free running game. So if they have to do that,
They don't have to.
Yeah, they generally don't have
Yeah.
to. That's it. Yeah.
But they can get them dirty with the best of them
Oh, they can.
when
But
they have to.
That's the thing. When they have to, but they don't. They don't. It's something they like to keep in their golf bag. But against us that time, they had to take out that club, literally and metaphorically. It just shows that. Look, I'm not saying we're going to beat New Zealand. I'm not saying New Zealand are going to beat us. I'm not saying that we're going to walk away with it, or they're going to walk away with it. What I am saying is, it's a game that's more finely balanced than a lot of the narrative would have you believe.
Like in those 2 matches, we were absolutely magnificent.
Yeah.
And we
have to be absolutely magnificent again.
magnificent again. We can't have performances as we, in the 4,
Can't be dropping balls,
even
knocking
the 4
on.
matches we've played so far in this competition. It has to be absolutely clinical. We can't be throwing balls to fellas standing still and going, oh, geez, better run.
Absolutely.
Everything has to be just
Clockwork.
I was just looking.
Just to go back, I wonder how much of that is the fact that so much is focused on this game.
Yeah.
That even in the games leading up to it, it was all about this game, whether it was South Africa or New Zealand. But it was all about the game.
That's sort of where they were focusing on.
Yeah.
I know they still have to win the game and have to be professional inverted commas, but they have to focus on either
Peaking
of the
for this weekend.
quarterfinals.
Yeah.
This is where the thing starts. Do you know what I mean? Let's just look at New Zealand, the matches that they've played to date. They got their bye or their draw against Italy.
It was the best ever result against New Zealand.
Actually, didn't they have a very close encounter?
They
with
did,
them?
in Milan, I think it was. Yeah,
that's right,
yeah.
San Siro. But I was just looking it's easy to kind of, and last week, and I was guilty of it as well. I was sitting there, and because I wanted the games to go ahead, I was very critical of World Rugby and cancelling those matches. But
When you see the devastation
when
in
you
the
see the
country,
devastation and you see cars upside down and you hear that there's 80 people killed and people's
is it up to 80? Wow.
yeah, and people's houses ruined and lifestyles destroyed and whatever. Like, it's
Game
only
of
a game of
rugby
rugby.
isn't that important.
And I think we have to kind of put it into perspective, really. Like,
Yep.
when you see the aftermaths of it, it wasn't like our little storms that we get the red warnings for and then don't really
A deck
turn
chair
out.
blows over.
Yeah, but you don't really hear too much.
Just what you're saying is completely valid and 100% true, but I still don't think the two things have anything to do with one another.
Which two things?
Bad planning and a natural disaster.
Fair enough.
One.
But it was the worst one in 60
Oh
years.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no,
In
that's
fairness.
I know, but anyway.
Yeah, sorry, I was just like, if we just look at say, we'll get back to them. If we just look at some of New Zealand's matches so far to date, like they've obviously they didn't play the match against Italy, but like some of the other matches that they did play, they played like they put 70 points on Namibia, they beat Canada by 60 something, like that's not good preparation. That's a training run. Like I bet you they've had a tougher match with A's
In
against
training,
B's
yeah.
in training.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And like there has to be some level of ring rustiness coming in.
Well, even
Fingers crossed.
even for us, that loss against Japan, bad and all as it was for the team morale and the whole thing, it was still of more value to us than New Zealand hockey and Namibia.
Surely you learn from your errors.
That's it, and it was a much harder match, and it was a proper run out and all this kind of stuff, And even the game against Samoa, which was very, very physical, even though we won going away at the end, or the game against Scotland, the first game, those are actually good conditioners in a way that New Zealand haven't had, with the exception, obviously, of the
South Africa.
South Africa game. I couldn't remember the word South Africa.
Well, isn't it great that we're going to be able to support Japan now for a change? Because we've been we wanted Scotland to beat them because it was good for us, but like part of me was really wanting to support Japan the whole time because they're playing such
if that was their
lovely
last
rugby.
meaningful game, that match was played on the 21st of September. Like we're gonna play them on the 18th of October.
I'm actually I would have been torn on this because I've spent time in South Africa and I really like the place apart from the outrageous racism. I really do.
And
like
a few other things like car lootings and
yeah, I do like.
shootings and-
There's something about South Africa. It gets to you, but anyway. So I'd normally be a kind of a closet South African supporter.
You look like a boar.
I do. Oh, very funny.
rugby
Literally,
bore.
to say it the other way, literally and metaphorically, as I said earlier. But I do look. But this game, like, and of course, Rassie Rasmus is in charge of South Africa as well.
Another friend of yours.
Another friend of mine. So I don't know. I think I might be cheering
for
for
Japan.
the brave Blossoms. Plus, it makes us look better.
You and the rest of the world would be cheering for
the
them
brave
outside of
Blossoms
South Africa.
did mangle Scotland. Like,
Yeah.
Absolutely buried them.
We all probably were hoping for a Scottish
were.
victory, but you have to take your hat off to Japan. They play such gorgeous rugby.
They do.
And Scotland, for all their bluster about coming out and saying that they hope to win the World Cup, and like they were
What, in rugby?
shocking. I'm not sure. I think it might be
Curling.
Curling, yeah.
But they were shocking.
Oh, the Japan.
Like Finn Russell. I know we've said it, but Finn Russell is not world class. And Hogg,
He
I
is
don't know
when
what-
he's on the front foot. But that's
Everybody's world class
not
on the front foot.
that's not often.
And Hogg is just an ego on two legs. Like, he won't pass. He takes the selfish option, trying to make himself look good all the time.
Exeter are getting him a gem, is what you're saying, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, you know what I say about DTH Van der Merwe.
He's Canadian.
He's Canadian. That's it. Well, I bet Glasgow, the only Glasgow player that ever worries me is DTH Van der Merwe, and he's not Scottish. But I mean, whatever about laughing at Scotland, and I'm sure we'll come back to it because it's fun. The rugby Japan played in that first half,
Magnificent.
it was rugby
it
from
just-
another planet.
it just
Like, it was
brings-
magnificent.
It brings
Yeah.
something new to the whole
Yeah, yeah.
experience. Like, even the biggest game of rugby that country has ever played. Like,
Yeah.
the match against the Box 4 years ago was obviously huge, But it was very unexpected. Like probably no unexpected.
And it was away.
And it was away. This was in their hometown, in their own country, obviously with a big natural disaster just after taking place, and an opportunity. Win this, and you're in the quarter-final of the competition.
Yeah, but if it was called off, they would have been in exactly the same
Okay,
position.
but they didn't. They had the balls not to push for that.
Absolutely.
Right? But the first minute, the first instant of the game, they kick a little grubber on the pitch across 10 metres.
Yeah.
Like, just showed that little bit of ingenuity rather than kick it off long or kick it off into the other opposition pack.
Or pick and go
You know?
150 times into the same bloke.
There you go. But like they play with such joy to play to watch. Like they are willing to run into space, and not into a face, as I tell the mini girls, you know. But like it's just brilliant to watch.
Yeah, and we all hope to watch it. It's Sunday, actually, isn't it?
Yeah.
They have an extra day.
Yeah.
South Africa also had 2 weeks off, not because their game was cancelled, but because they finished on a Tuesday, I think. So they're almost they've 11-day turnaround, and Japan have 7. So we'll see if that is whether the rustiness or the fatigue comes in, which side of the coin that one goes on. But
I wonder what way that they'll tackle the Boks. Like, will they try to just bludgeon them?
They're
Will
brave.
they take them on wide?
They're brave.
South Africa actually are a much better balanced South African team than we've seen for a long time.
Yeah.
In terms of the ability to both bludgeon and
rapier.
slice.
Yeah.
You know, they have serious threats on the wings, but they also have, you know, 100% pure Bok beef in the.
They
Oh, yeah.
don't. If other countries had someone as good as your man Kobe on the wing, it'd be like Campese, get the ball into his bloody hands. The Springboks are reluctant to get the ball into his hands.
I mean, he is a fantastic player. And he's the guy who wouldn't look out of place in the Japanese team with his style of rugby.
exactly.
He'd go well there.
I'm sure South Africa would do well if they had a good coach. They'd do exactly what the best thing for South Africa to win is.
If they
I mean,
had a good coach.
there's no bonus points.
That's true.
You know, 3-0 gets them through to a semi-final.
That's all they need.
And that's the thing. We're into a different. It's just another thing. Now we're into the knockouts. It's a different paradigm. You know, there's no need for. You don't have to worry about bonus points. It's just about the win.
Yeah. So that might actually play against Japan, that they can. You know, you're chasing the game after them, like Scotland.
Yeah.
Needed to get bonus point and all the rest of it, whereas in a match like this, as you say, Dave, 3-0 will do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's going to be fascinating. So we play on Saturday, but we have Nigel on the whistle. Think it'll make any difference or benefit to us?
Yeah, I don't think he's a benefit necessarily. I don't think he's people are saying, "Oh, that's it. We've lost the game." Nigel's reffing. I can't see that either. Like
I'm just glad it's not. Like, I'd rather Nigel, who knows our players.
Yeah.
We know him, more importantly.
That's it.
Rather than some lad who's coming up through the ranks from South Africa or Australia.
Oh, I'd definitely rather Nigel than a Southern Hemisphere ref. Just not for any bias, but just for the fact that they're used to the way Southern Hemisphere refs ref the game.
We know.
And we're used to how Nigel refs it.
His little mannerisms or his tics or whatever, you know. We know exactly what he's hot on, what he's not so hot
exactly.
on.
Yeah, the familiarity. We should know how Nigel will referee this match, and we should cut our cloth accordingly.
He does make some frustrating and sometimes hard to fathom
I don't
decisions.
know if he does or not. I think that once at this level, players at this level are used to being refereed by the top level refs from all the countries because they do swap over a bit. So whether
But
it was
not as like
not quite as often.
you know,
whether it was-
Nigel will referee Leinster against Zebre, for example.
but whether it was
Whereas
whether
he's
it
only
was,
going to do New Zealand against the Springboks. He's not going to do a Super Rugby game. Or,
but whether it was Nigel or Roman Poit or
Garces,
or Wayne
Wayne
Burns,
Burns.
I don't think it makes any difference to
I'd
the
like
players
Wayne Burns because the
they're-
Kiwis hate him.
because they're all used because they're all used to that style. They're all used to those referees. And the thing we should be glad of is it's not Jakob Paper,
Absolutely.
because he's
Dar.
I mean,
He's very good on paper, not so good on grass.
Out of all the currently active refs, I think he's the worst.
I would agree. This is obviously going to be potentially the last game Schmidt will coach Ireland, or on the other hand, it possibly could be Hansen's last game. And I just had a quick look at their records, right? So Schmidt has been in charge for 69 games, of which we've won 50, lost 18, with a win record of 72%. Hansen has been in charge for 101 games, which they've won 88. So they have a win ratio of 87%, because they had a few draws in there. But they lost 9 games. But they lost twice to us of those 9 games. And then they were dicked by Australia in the Bledisloe Cup earlier on this season by quite a considerable score, maybe 40 points, I think.
It was insane anyway.
So
nobody was expecting it.
They are.
Not even
I'm
the
not
Aussies.
saying like that they're a shit New Zealand team, but they're not the Invincibles from 4
The last
years
World
ago.
Cup or the World.
No, they're kind of still developing their game. They don't know what they want to be doing with it. Like they didn't know whether they wanted Bowden or Richie Mo'unga at out half, and now they've decided they want them both, so they're sticking Bowden at fullback, which has some huge benefits. Like he comes into the line, he's a second playmaker. However, it also means they are the only two out halves in the whole squad. So it means if one of them goes down, you're okay. You can bring in
So
Bin
we just need
Smut.
Tanya Harding to sort out.
Jordy Barrett.
You can bring in Bin Smut at a full back, and
Jordy
the
Barrett
team
at out half.
rolls on. Jordy Barrett,
Well, he's played there before. Played there for the All Blacks before.
yeah, but in the World Cup,
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying he's.
I know
I'm not
Steve
saying-
O'Donnell
You
won
see,
it for them, but
picking Bodie at fullback has one advantage and two disadvantages. The advantage is you've got Bowden Barrett on the pitch. The disadvantage is he isn't at out half, and Mo'unga is. So will they go with him at out half now that we're at the business end, or has it just been a way of keeping him ticking over?
I think if they take Richie Mo'unga out of it now, it'll be a huge. It'll be a bad thing for them.
Will it?
Yeah, I think so. And that's after developing their game the way they've done in the last year or so. Going back,
I think New Zealand are better with Bowden Barrett at out half and Ben Smith at fullback.
maybe, but can you see them changing? Like if that was going to happen in the knockout stage of the World Cup, do you not think?
Oh
They
yeah,
would've
no,
played
they might
more.
have, they might have done it, but at the same time, do you think it's which is better?
I can see the merits of both, but I can't see them doing it. I can't see them starting that way. I can see them finishing that way, but I can't see them starting that way.
Yeah.
I think we should be focusing on ourselves, not on them.
Well, that's true as well, but
So-
we're not picking the team or playing in it, thankfully,
Exactly.
for everybody's sake.
So, from our point of view, I would say the front five kind of picks itself.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I love the new. I hate I felt bad for Levin Toner, but I love the new, totally mobile pair of second rows we have, Henderson and James Ryan. Like both of them can run fast.
Yeah.
Both of them can tackle. Both of them are athletic. Both of them are strong.
Looked offload.
But
Although good hands from Devon at the weekend.
Yeah.
Oh look,
Now I look.
Devin Toner is a great player, and I've heard he's struggling with his fitness or whatever. He can't get to the level that he perhaps could previously fitness wise, but he's still got the hands he's always had. He's still the line out target. The only saving grace is that James Ryan is 6'8". Okay, he's not 6'11", but he's still a big lad. He's as big as anything New Zealand have.
Again, this is a narrative that'll be post hoc. If we only come out of this match with 60% of our lineouts, because we do have hookers that are a bit blippy when it comes to the throwing. All three of them. So if we only come out of the match with 60% of our lineouts, then it was a mistake. If we come out of the match with 90% of our lineouts or whatever, the usual kind of thing, then it wasn't a mistake.
Yeah.
So it only becomes a thing after the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I suppose it just depends on what way we want to play the game. Like,
We're going to need to win lineouts.
well, what does that do? And just start off another ruck again.
Well, that's how we're going to play.
What is it though? I mean,
Yeah.
if you're going to pick these two guys, you're going to surely use a little bit more dynamism around the pitch than just repeat after repeat after repeat. And I suspect the way we've played for the first opening 4 matches
about to change drastically.
I'd like to think it is. I'm not saying it will, but I'd like to think it is.
But to ask the question that John asked me, do you think that they're going to change the way they played just for the quarter final?
I think
Ireland,
Yeah.
that
much
this
more
is-
likely to.
This is a once-off game. You win this game, and then the whole thing opens up again.
Mhm.
You win against Scotland. You win against Japan. It really makes no. You have to win 3 out of the 4 games. You have to make sure you qualified, and most importantly, when you get to your quarter final, be it against South Africa or New Zealand, that you haven't shown your hand. That you have some cards still up your sleeve.
I'm sure there's plenty of cards up the sleeve, but that goes equally, if not more so, for Steve Hansen.
Oh, for sure. But
There's the man who has a whole 2 packs
yeah,
up his
but
sleeve.
like I mean, they've, as I said, they played 2 Mickey Mouse matches. They might as well have been playing UCD. Like,
Which the thing is, Steve Hansen doesn't have 2 cards. I mean, he's got 31 players.
Yeah,
He can't bring in any more. We know
That's
those
true.
players. We watch them play. There's this kind of mystique around the All Blacks, and that's half the thing. There is a mystique
There is,
around
yeah.
them.
oh yeah.
And that's all it is. It's just to a certain because they're brilliant at rugby, right? And we think that the mystique and is anything more than smoke and mirrors, but it's not really. The only thing that sets the All Blacks apart from the rest of the world
It's the hacker.
is being better than them at rugby. That's it. There's no cards up his sleeve or anything like that. He might have a different tactical plan, like we were saying about Mwanga and Barrett, or Barrett and Smith, or whatever. But at the end of the day, the reason that New Zealand are as good as they are is because they're as good as they are.
Because they're good rugby players.
Yeah. And they don't even do anything complicated. I've often said this. New Zealand play the simplest brand of rugby in the world. They just do it better and they do it faster.
And they do it they do it every time
Yeah.
really well.
Yeah.
And there's a famous, was it the last World Cup where there was a massive break in play for an injury, and the All Blacks, maybe it wasn't the World Cup, All Blacks just ran up and down. It was against us.
Passing
maybe,
drills, yeah.
Passing drills.
It was Jordy Murphy's injury
Yeah. And
in Chicago.
that's, okay, they didn't win that game, but that's the kind of thing they do. Like, they just fall back into drill. They have everything taught out. They have, and their passing skills, all that stuff that they eat up as a 7-year-old kid is just in every one of them. And, we're catching them now. We're starting to turn out players. We're starting to turn out props that can score tries. We're starting to turn out guys that can compete. Obviously, we can compete. We've beaten them twice. But it's been a while to get to that. It's taken 20 years of professional rugby for us to get to the pitch that the All Blacks are at.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting. I think that both teams have a way that they like to play, and a way that's been successful for them.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, like you were saying, Jay, will we go in? I mean, we've been very successful playing, very limited rugby. When we won the championships in the first 2 championships, nobody passed the ball less, or we kicked the ball. We passed the ball the least and kicked the ball the most
Mm-hmm.
out of everyone. Now, the thing is, when we won the Grand Slam in 2018, we scored a
It's the
shitload of
opposite.
tries.
yeah.
But we went back. We played I think the way we played the All Blacks last time is the way we play the All Blacks this time, because it's a way that beats them. Because they're not going to change. Because they
So,
don't.
outside of this tight 5 that we're all agreed
Yeah,
on,
so I was going to move on to that. So back row.
would you have Tyke Byrne at 6, or would you go?
I think that there's a real conversation been started by Tyke Burns' performance.
Yeah.
I think and having Nigel on the whistle might give
Yeah,
Tyke Byrne
yeah.
a bit more free rein, because he tends to be a bit laissez-faire at the breakdown.
Yeah, I think that the way. I mean, you got
I
to.
know Peter O'Mahony's equally
have to win
good
this
at
game.
poaching.
Yeah.
We have to win this game. Can't
Yeah.
sit back and try and hope that they might drop the ball over the line and we run 94 metres.
Well,
We have to go and attack. Like Japan did last week. Take the ball and take the game to your opposition and put your take on the whole game. Impose your own game onto them rather than wait for them and just absorb and react to what they do. You must
course.
put your own stamp
Well,
on it.
that's just before. I mean, Japan don't play the way they play because of any great love of the beautiful game. They play the way they play because they have to.
It's the way they're going to win.
That's the only way they're going to win. They're not going to win a physical contest, despite their.
Well, there's some very big lads there.
Despite the.
There are.
They're still one of the smallest teams in the tournament.
Well, Jesus, I tell you what, they could easily match. Like their back row are ferocious.
I'm not talking about ferocity or anything, but they're a small team.
But I disagree with you because I think some of those lads are bigger than some of the Irish guys. I would suggest
Taller,
taller,
but
wider.
I'm talking about across the team because it's not. But Japan play the way that they play because in order to beat teams like New Zealand or South Africa or Ireland
especially South Africa
or England, is they have to use pace. They have to use technical ability.
Yeah.
They're not gonna win an arm wrestle. New Zealand play the way that they play because they can win any kind of a way. And Ireland have played the way that they play because Joe Schmidt believes that's the way that's...
I think you can adapt to the conditions of where you play and how you play. Like, in the south of France, they run the ball because the sun's on their backs most of the time. And that's what they used to. In Ireland, it was a bit different because it's a winter sport. We play piss and rain. New Zealand, you can get both. You can get a lovely day, but you also get lashing rain if you're in Wellington or... so you adapt to the conditions and you adapt to your natural environment. But it's likewise in say New Zealand, in South Africa, they play in relatively warm conditions compared to us, and yet they play with them. That's why they can.
So does that all distill down into Tadhg or Peter O'Mahony?
or Rhys Ruddock.
Or Rhys Ruddock indeed.
It's hard to know.
He played very well against Russia.
He did.
Tadhg gives you... He doesn't give you any more in the line-out despite his extra height because of O'Mahony's throw up by a single probability. However, he gives you more beef. He gives you more in a maul. He gives you more in... he's a great tackler.
Also, O'Mahony's playing like a drain.
He's not in the best form of his life.
And we never actually throw O'Mahony up with one lifter anyway. People say this, but we don't actually do it.
He is possibly a very good bench option playing as he does in all three positions. Not much at 8, but he can play there. Stander, with Jack Conan edge, I have to think Stander is
the only 8, right?
The only real option, yeah.
But so that leaves Geordie Murphy and Rhys Ruddock.
Well, you're gonna have to say Geordie can't be that fit. I mean, he popped a rib.
No,
it's, he's probably able to train and.
So do we have Tadhg with O'Mahony on the bench? Because I think we're kind of agreeing on Josh van der Fleer and.
I think he's going
and CJ Stander.
I'd go for Byrne, but I think he'd go for O'Mahony.
No, I think he will. Yeah, I think he'll go for O'Mahony. I think
he's kind of wetted.
So Byrne or Ruddock on the bench now.
He's played in a lot of his big games.
He's quite a conservative selector, Joe.
Yeah. All international coaches are pretty much. It's all on reputation more than form.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know our half backs. Midfield?
I think he's going to go with...
Henrose and Ringshaw.
I don't know who he's going to go for. I think he's going to go with Henshaw and one other.
I wonder if he had two teams kind of selected.
That's a bit rusty.
Let's say Bundy was available, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, he's not. But did he have a team that if we end up playing Springboks, that we'll go
this direction,
maybe have Farrell in there, and then maybe have more of a balance against the All Blacks.
I think the problem with that is that the guy who would have played in both teams is Bundy Aki, and he's not available.
Possibly, yeah.
I mean, he might have gone with Aki and Ringrose.
But Henshaw's your best centre. He has to play.
Yeah,
he's the best one.
Yeah,
he's had one ropey-ish game at after coming back after injury.
Yeah, but
that's probably enough.
He's now a week more. He's now had another week.
Yeah. Well, that's probably enough for somebody of Henshaw's quality. In fairness,
what
to
game
come
did
back.
He come back after injury? Was it for Leinster?
It was England? Is it Ireland versus England? I think he came back and smashed it. It was definitely a Six Nations game. Anyway.
It's going to be. I mean, he might decide to go with. I actually think if we go with Henshaw and Ringrose, we actually have the better centre partnership on the pitch. I think they're better centre partnership than the All Blacks. Anyway. Yeah. I think they are actually better centres than the All Blacks. I think Chris Farrell's a brilliant player. I mean, no, he's not a brilliant player. He's a very, very good player.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it would be an indication of a style of play that Jason mightn't like.
You're a bit leaden-footed for...
Yeah, I think it'll mean he's going heavy foot.
Yeah. Joe does love big backs though. Always did. Yeah. Always did.
He loves big backs and he cannot lie.
There you go.
He did play O'Driscoll and Darcy for a long time.
Yeah, but
he would have lost his job before he could drop them.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Okay, back three then.
You're looking at...
Does Rob come back in, or has Larmour done enough after his What did he make? He beat
Car-
most defenders in a.
Yeah,
game.
I think Carney can go back in.
Carney, Earls, and Stockdale with Armour on the bench, possibly, or
Yeah.
maybe even Conway on the bench. Who knows? That's where I think you're looking at. That leads us to that very thing, the bench. Obviously, you got Andrew Porter. You've got. I'd say you go with Cronin for a
Yeah, I'd
bit
say
of,
you will,
for
yeah.
when the game breaks up.
Yeah.
Kilcoyne, obviously, and after that.
Oh, bets are off.
Oh, well, are they? This is where we get to the interesting
Well, it
bit.
really depends what.
Do you put Byrne in as second row and Ruddock as back row cover? That might be a way out of it that satisfies everybody. Other than that, if you're starting Byrne at 6, do you put O'Mahony and Ruddock on the bench? And you know, you've still got 3 second rows in the you know you those 5 guys seem to be it. If Conan's obviously out and back in Ireland, Jordy Murphy, we've agreed, is not probably up to match pitch.
Well, we'd have to. I mean, in fairness,
Well, maybe he
in
is,
fairness
I don't
to
know.
Jody, we don't know, and he is a player that Joe likes
Yeah.
because he can play 6, 7, and 8. So and he likes
Well,
to have
he's-
him on the bench.
My point is, he's not going to throw Klein in there for a bit of poker.
Oh, no,
I
no,
don't
Klein,
think so.
and that was another. I firmly believe that Klein was selected for the Springbok game if we had have got them.
I don't know. I think he was selected for the Russia and Samoa games.
So possibly
But-
too. Yeah, I agree with that.
But yeah, so I think that kind of between our second row and our back row, if you look at that as 4 people in the back row and 3 people in the second row, including the subs, I think we've just got the right amount of people there left that are fit. You've got 3 nominally second rows of Byrne.
I read somewhere that someone was
Ryan
suggesting not picking McGrath at scrum half,
Yeah, and going with a 6.
going with
too.
Carberry in there.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening.
You'd wonder though if you were going to do. I don't see it either. You'd wonder if
There are people out there who think that the Earth is flat shape.
you'd wonder if they are going to do that, where they're going to put it, because there's no real benefit to having an extra forward if you've already got
Are you bringing Carberry into the mix?
a couple of back rows. No, but like if let's say if you put Carberry at 21 for the
Yeah.
sake of argument as a scrum half stroke
So
out half,
Conway and
cover.
Larmer.
do you put Conway and Larmer in there?
Yeah.
That can be the only
I
thinking.
presume that's what
That can be the only thinking. But like, why?
they're kind of 2 very similar kind of players, aren't they?
Well,
Yeah.
I would be surprised if if Joe Schmidt is going to go into a World Cup quarter final with a guy who hasn't played a competitive match at scrum half since he was
In school. 18.
18.
It's just not going to happen.
It's just not. It's madness.
If he was
I
gonna
would-
do it,
I
he'd-
would
he'd
say
do it
I would
against
like
Russia.
to say if we were going to if he wasn't going to pick Rob Kearney, I wouldn't have Larmer at fullback.
Conway?
I'd have
Oh,
Carberry.
your friend, yeah.
I think he's.
Joe Schmidt will never.
I
do
know.
that.
Well, he can't do it
Never.
now anyway.
He hasn't been.
I know.
played
Yeah.
there enough.
No, I'm just saying that's a personal
Yeah.
thing.
No,
I
fair
think.
enough. And
I think he's a guy who'd open up the pitch.
But like that could well happen then, you know,
Would that be
under the Farrell regime.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah.
know.
Would that beat Bowden Barrett and Richie Moonga?
Yeah, the difference is that Johnny Sexton's a good out half.
So's Bowden Barrett.
Yeah, but that's not who I'm talking about.
Well, all I'm saying is the
Moanga.
combined player ability of Moanga and Barrett, and the combined playing ability of Carberry and Sexton, were they to be both at fullback and out half.
Even the fact that Bowden Barrett is probably the best rugby player in the world wouldn't compensate.
For Richie Moonga, you really like the guy, and
He's not an
Feeling.
all black out half. He's another Carlos Spencer as far as I'm concerned.
wouldn't be comparing him to Carlos.
Carlos.
But
No?
King Carlos, yeah. He certainly doesn't play like him.
No.
But anyway.
Anyway, boys, as ever, thanks a million.
We've questions, Jason.
Oh, sorry, I do apologise.
There's no point in asking
No, sorry.
our viewing public.
Into
Either
extra
of our
time.
viewing public.
I know, into extra time, Dave.
Okay, so Gary Wynn asks, how great is it to see Tamani firing it inside centre? He was like a fish out of water on the wing.
Yeah, I thought it was great to see him back. I thought see the 3 matches he's played so far. I'm delighted to see him.
Yeah,
I thought he got a hard time
Mm-hmm.
when he joined. And, you know, it's great, more strings to our bow.
Yeah, I think he's been excellent for us in the 3 games so far.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is what just when Nasiwa joined, I don't know, 10 years ago or more. I remember being on a talk and he said when the internationals are away, I think it was during the World Cup in 07, he said, when the internationals are away, I'm going to...
11 maybe.
07.
Nasewa?
Yeah.
It didn't start till October 08.
Okay.
Anyway, let's not get...
And you were there,
details.
Jason, and I know.
Anyway,
yeah.
he basically said, look, I'm going to be one of the leaders when all the internationals are away, which is great to hear. And that's what you want Manning to be saying within the dressing room, because he's got 20 odd caps for Australia when these kids are coming through with 2 or 3 Leinster caps just out of the academy.
Yeah.
They need leadership, and he's shown it.
Yeah.
Well, we've got another question we got. Actually, I'll go back to one that was asked last week. Actually, no, it was a couple of weeks ago. And just as a kind of a...
Did we miss it?
No, we didn't miss it, but it's just that Alan Kavanagh at the time asked, do you think we'll hear anything funnier this year than Scotland believing they could win the World Cup? Well said, Alan. Now, Alan this week asks, he's getting very literary. He says, watching Ben Whitehouse reminds me of that Kipling paraphrase of Kipling. If you can keep your head when 10,000 people reckon you don't have a fucking clue, you too can be a ref. I'm struggling to remember such sustained derision from an RDS crowd. He looks at the mirror and sees the next Nigel Owens. Everyone else is looking at the next Jaco Paper. I think that might be a harsh review there, Alan.
Yeah, harsh but funny.
Harsh
we
but
like
funny, certainly funny. Kieran asks, a good question actually. Kieran Kelleher, WTAF.
Cian Kelleher,
Cian
yeah.
Kelleher, sorry.
Yeah, we raised this last week.
We did, and WTF is exactly it, yeah. Where is he?
We don't know if he's injured. We
Having-
don't know
Well,
if he's...
I got to the match ridiculously early through very bad planning. And I was able to see the full warm-up. And before the rest of the team, Cian did a bit of a warm-up on his own, not on his own, with a physio of his own kind of thing. And it had the look of a fitness test.
Right.
And he did that for a bit in the corner on his own. And then when the rest of the team arrived, he joined in with that. So maybe this is
He
his
had a
first
bit of
week, his first week back to rugby, as it were.
Yeah, he was the ball boy the previous week,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that's usually...
I thought he had the look of someone who was
well, especially when
coming
his,
back.
especially
Right.
when his brother is scoring
Yeah.
tries for the crack.
But
You
like,
know, scoring more tries than a back.
after the match, Cullen was interviewed and he made a big play of saying, "Oh, we've now a big block of games that brings us right up past Christmas. I think there's 13 weeks of continuous rugby. From they have a week off and then they have 13 weeks.
Yeah.
So presumably he's thinking my internationals are going to be exhausted after.
That's when we
the
need
way
our Cian Kelleher.
So maybe it's to kind of bring them through for those matches because we've, like, in all due respect, the first 3 matches that we've got 2 nice handy ones at home, and we had a match over in Treviso. Whereas, as I mentioned earlier, once the World Cup is over, you're into Europe because there's 2 matches in Europe. There's a week off, 2 matches in Europe, and 2 weeks off.
It's very...
Not off, but non-Europe.
Yeah.
And then it's 2 weeks over Christmas, and then 2 games in
Yeah,
Europe.
it's a
So
big
there's the European
segment.
European competition is condensed into a 9-week period.
Yeah. And for a squad that is actually very young, you have to give those younger players breaks. So you need a lot. I mean, part of the reason possibly why Rowan Osborne, apart from his excellence of his performances, has been given a full contract, is that we actually just need bodies on deck.
Yeah.
So I'd say, I mean, you've got with Rob and, as you say, the guys with the World Cup. So you've got Rob and Jordan away. So we've got Hugo Keenan, Jimmy O'Brien, and Cian Kelleher at fullback. We've there's a lot of rugby to be played.
Emerging talent.
Yeah, there's a lot of rugby to be played, and there's going to be a lot of opportunities for those guys to play it.
But those guys need to be managed as well.
Oh,
not
absolutely,
just gonna play.
One thing before we go, lads, sorry to interrupt you, but speaking of emerging talent, Leinster won a cup on
They did,
Sunday.
yes, they won the
So we couldn't kind of let that go by
County
without.
Cup, yeah.
Retained it.
Yeah,
Retained
and
Many times that they've won it now.
They've only had twice.
in different forms of it, like presumably
they won the BNI at least. I think they won the BNI twice, and it was going for about 5 years. And now they've won the first
and they got to
2
another final, I think,
editions. Yeah, I think they lost the final when we were in 2018. They lost the final in the last one. No, that was a quarter final.
Was it?
But it was a great spectacle. They were 10-3 down at one stage, and it wasn't looking all plain sailing. Ulster definitely came to play. We were sitting right in front of Willie Anderson, and overheard all of his his stuff into the mic to the guys on the side of the pitch. It was very entertaining, is all I'll say. It was very entertaining. And he used the phrase championship minutes quite a lot, and then we went and scored a fucking try just after he said it.
Don't concede to Leinster, they always score
In the championship minutes.
That's not actually what he said, but yeah. But anyway, we did come back and blow them away a bit in later on, but they were giving us a good game for a while, you know, and it was good to be there. It was good to see them get another
You are
pot.
a true fan.
And
True Gale.
talking about what's his name? Well, I just live near it, so it's easy. Talk about Ronan Kelleher scoring tries for fun. His understudy, Dan Sheehan, I believe, has scored 10 tries, including a hat-trick in one of the games, and scored one again yesterday, on Sunday. So he's gone pretty well. I have to say he's improved a lot. I've taken an interest in him in the last year and a bit.
Have you?
And he's really come on. He's really come
If
on
you
in
were
the
an
last...
English club, right?
I'd be hanging around
Wouldn't you
Donnybrook.
think, and I'm sure you'd pick up an
I bet you they already are.
But wouldn't you though? You'd be thinking, these guys, okay, the really good ones might want to stay on and play for Leinster, but the pretty good ones,
Some of the pretty good ones might be a good bet, yeah.
wouldn't you?
They
Absolutely.
might even be able to lure some
And they
of the...
might be a bit cheaper than paying a fella with 15 All Blacks caps or 4 All Blacks caps, you know.
I'd say so, and they might be able to even lure some of the better but more gullible ones.
Oh yeah.
So
Well,
yeah,
if they're
with
going-
the offer of a full
But
contract.
if they're
kind of
going
thing.
to college or something
Yeah.
that they can transfer their course to the UK
Yeah.
and it's not that far to commute back to their
Yeah, I mean,
families or whatever.
I'm sure they would. I mean, just to, I know it's something that might. It's something that actually I'd say the English clubs are thinking of because they don't miss too many tricks. Is Brexit might be an issue, because they would in a sense essentially.
Wish they just
sign
get that
foreign
bloody thing
players.
done one way or another.
So that might be
Oh, but
something
even
that's
historically though, like
Yeah.
it was
I was
it
surprised.
seemed to be
Tide-
more say,
Tide McElroy, wasn't that his name? Tide McElroy went over.
He went to
With
Saracens.
Somewhat acrimoniously.
yeah.
And he was I think
Came back then, didn't
he was told to go to Connacht by the IRFU
Yeah.
and he didn't fancy it or something like that. I don't want to misquote it, but it was
It was acrimonious anyway.
yeah, and he just said, "No, I'm off to Saracens, mate." And don't know what happened to him after that.
I thought it came back.
Did he?
Yeah, I thought so.
Not to Leinster anyway.
No, it was Ulster. I thought.
Could be.
wrong. You know. Well, anyway, boys, as ever, thanks again, and thanks very much for watching. If you do follow us on Facebook or Twitter, please like and subscribe. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Cheers.